Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. We starting in three, two, one. Two counter setup in this debate. Firstly, we're not going to remove all the artworks, but if you want to scrutiny, if you want to protest, if they want to, if the end goal is to punish them, it's okay. If you want to punish, prison the artist, it's okay. Bring up to the court, we are okay. But we're not willing if the entertainment platforms removing all the artworks. Second setup, we are willing to punish the actors by cutting off some of these artists by cutting off some of their income or tax them and reallocating it into equipping more adequate lawyers and judicial officers. So in case of government might say that these artists can hire lawyers to cover for them, it will not happen. But also, we're also willing to reallocate the tax income to give protections to the victims of the crimes. For example, in case of R. Kelly, we're going to tax R. Kelly's income and from Spotify to facilitate protection for women in order for them to not be sexually harassed anymore. Three arguments in my speech. Firstly, that directly backlash to government's case. Firstly, how this is unfair for the people involved in the production of the artwork. Secondly, I'm going to explain why this is not in line with the interest of entertainment platform, which is to gain profit. Thirdly, I'm going to explain why in our side how we can still change the behavior of these artists. Going to the first argument, how this is unfair. Firstly, let's characterize how do we create artworks in status quo. Artworks are created through a long process of cooperation between a lot of people. For example, in creating movies, there are lots of stakeholders involved behind the making of the movie. There are actors, actresses, the directors, producers, editors, and etc. Entertainers are just one aspect of the entire production that becomes the front face and is usually the most noticed person throughout the entire production of the artwork. Hence, when an artwork created is a collective contribution of a lot of people. When we want to create the deterrents for the entertainers that are immoral, we should pay attention to the aspects of proportionality, whether or not the methods that we use to punish the perpetrators and alter their behaviors is something that's proportional to the potential consequences from the punishment that we impose. Right? The problem with removing their artworks from the entertainment platforms is that those artworks are not solely created by the entertainment alone. There are so many other different artists who are working behind the creation of this artwork. When we remove it from Spotify or other platforms, for example, just because the entertainers are creating immoral, the ones getting the effects from the removal of the content are not going to be artists only, but also the people working behind of the creation of the artworks. Do take into account that these people, aside from the entertainers, are people who are completely unaware and do not have control over the behavior of the entertainers. To begin with, right, they might be someone who are working closely with the artists during the creation of the artworks, but the thing is, they might have no idea what these artists are going to do to their personal life. Hence, it is unfair to expect them to be liable to the entertainers' behavior and punish them when the entertainers are doing like actions, since they are not in control and also unaware of the entertainers' personal life 24/7. Like, what is this? What is this? What does this tell you? This tells you that it's not fair for you to remove all the artworks because you're also going to harm other people that involved in the creation of the artwork. These are complicit to the immoral acts that committed by these entertainers, right? But also, the second argument, why this is not in line with the interest of the entertainment platforms, which is to gain profit. This is directly clash to government side. Whereas entertainment platforms' interest and most interest is to gain profit. Since these artists most likely to be the most potential money maker, they will not really cut off their potential resources to gain profit, right? But let's say to government side has. For example, they said that people are already protesting and boycotting it, so the income will not be that good. So I think this is not true, right? Because there are still segments of spectrum of other people that enjoys music and artworks solely because they like the art, solely because they like the music, solely because they really like the music. They do and they do not care about the artist's personal life, or they do not care about the acts or the whether or not this artist is immoral or not. So this explains to you why profit will stream to the pockets of these entertainment partners, regardless whether or not people have boycott or scrutiny them. What does this tell you? This tells you that there will still be income and profit going to the pockets of these entertainment platforms, regardless their scrutiny or protest, because there are a spectrum of society that still likes music regardless of these artists have committed moral crimes or not. So the benefit of interest of entertainment platforms to gain profit still fly under our cyber house. Third, last argument. I'm going to explain why we can still change the behavior of the artist even without removing the artist. But there are so many alternatives to ensure that respect. For example, like cancel culture. This is very effective, right? How cancel cultures are able to persuade people in the ground to cancel people who have committed crimes, right? These people are able to persuade them to unsubscribe these artists, and these artists will feel that their main source of income will be threatened. So this cancel culture are able to deter these artists, right? But secondly, when you are talking about the entertainment business, image and reputation is everything. People will judge them on daily basis upon their behaviors, especially as entertainers, as someone who will be in the public a lot. When they are behaving badly, even though their works are still available on these platforms, people will still criticize and deliver their aspirations to these artists. These entertainers will still get their image broken, hence they will lose a lot of brand deals and endorsement from corporations that do not work with them, because it could potentially harm their image too, right? The media also continuously go up this issue and discuss their immoral behaviors. Hence, people to keep on discussing about it. Hence, if they become too controversial, and less jobs would be given to them, because working with them is just potentially costly for these clients to be damaged. But also, right, we need to also analyze from the entertainer's perspective here. When they receive no profit anymore from the consumers, it will be less likely for them to change their behavior anyway, right? Since they no longer get any profit, they will not have any burden to listen to whatever the consumers say. However, when the society keeps on consuming their artworks and establish connection for these entertainers, that they earn something because of the society's contribution to them, they will create a sense of awareness and more urgency for the entertainers to listen to the society's demand, because the entertainers will feel entitled to the consumers' contribution to their art income when there are still consumers, when there are still society that listens to their music and still demands from this artist, right? Not to mention, at least the people around him, such as their manager, for example, the label or the production house, will now have incentives also to listen to the demands of the society, because we are giving them income too, and they will more likely to listen and to the demands of the society. What does this conclude, right? We already explained to you why in outside the house we're going to deter the artist, why case of R. Kelly will still be mitigated under outside the house, why this is still in line with the interest of the platform to gain profit. We're very proud to propose.
Thank you for leader of up. Not to continue the case of OG, Deputy Prime Minister here.
Test, am I audible? Okay, so I'm going to start my speech and wait. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, notice that the moment when we are removing the artist's artwork from the entertainment platforms, there will be narrative happening in the society, right? That removing the artwork is an enough punishment, is a deterrent punishment for this artist, when in fact it is not, ladies and gentlemen. This kind of a narrative will undermine the system of criminalization that exists in society, that it is actually will happen in the entire government bench, ladies and gentlemen. Not to mention how this artist is rich anyway, so they have the capability to bribe their judges, for example, or the police, and so far and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. Two responses towards the government of opening government. First of all, they say that this art by following our proposal, these artists can bribe the victims and so far and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. But first of all, I want to clarify what my first speaker has already told you, right? It is not bribing, but it is the transaction that gives retribution towards the victim, ladies and gentlemen. It is not to bribe the victim, but it is as the retribution of the crimes that the perpetrator has done at the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. But second of all, even if there is tax action, right, criminal charge will still exist in our side of the house, ladies and gentlemen, because there is police department that will see the problem and so far and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. But third of all, it means that the deterrent effect will be bigger in our side of the house, because first the image of the artist will be tarnished. That I will explain later on my argument. But second response is, right, they said that the moment when these entertainment platforms still showing the artworks of this artist, it is the moment where people will question the credibility of this the entertainment platforms, ladies and gentlemen. But first response, showing the works of this artist doesn't necessarily mean that these these entertainment platforms are supporting the criminals that has been done by the artist, ladies and gentlemen. But second of all, you cannot blame this entertainment platforms if they want to show the artworks of these artists, because at the very first place they gain profit from that, from showing the artworks, ladies and gentlemen. It is their source of income to begin with. So you cannot necessarily say that the moment when they are showing the artworks is the moment where these entertainment platforms are supporting the criminals that that has been done by the artist. But third of all, even if they are showing the artworks of these criminals, right? People can still choose anyway of what kind of music they want to hear, or what kind of movie they want to watch, and so far and so forth. People will boycott, and especially the society has been progressive enough that they can choose what they want to watch, and so far and so forth. But first of all, we say that the moment when people question the credibility of this entertainment platform, we say that it will not bring any harm anyway to the platforms. Why? Because at the end of the day, these platforms still have many movies to be showed. They still have many music to be heard to their consumers, and so far and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. So in my second argument, I'm going to prove you why it will create incentive for the artist the moment when when we do not remove their works from the entertainment platform, right? First layer of analysis: the artist's behavior will most likely change when people can still consume their works, right? Because these artists, these people to begin with, they really care about the image. They really care about their reputation, because image or reputation is very important in the entertainment industry, right? When they do crimes or something immoral, it will tarnish their reputation. People will stop consuming their works, like people will do boycotting, and so far and so forth. People will judge these artists, especially as entertainers, as artists. They often appear on television, for example. They often appear on newspaper, and so far and so forth. When we are still showing the artwork, when the artwork is still present, people will criticize the behavior of this artist, right? It creates pressures for the artist to change their behavior in order to rebuild their reputation back. They will have incentive to change because their reputation is bad. Why we say that there will be incentive? First of all, they will have incentive because the moment when their reputation is bad, they will lose a lot of endorsements, right? Company doesn't want to work with this artist with bad reputation, because it can make the reputation of this company bad, the reputation bad as a company, right? That endorse this artist with criminals. But second of all, why we said that there is incentive? Because the media will blow up the issue, ladies and gentlemen. It will be talked everywhere, in the newspaper, in the television, in the radio, and so far and so forth, which it will create discussion among the public. So public will always discuss about this certain problem, about this bad behavior that the artist has done, which means that it will make the artist getting less jobs. Less jobs would be received, because working with the artist would hurt the client's reputation, the company's reputation, and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. But comparatively, in government side of the house, the moment when they remove all the artworks, it means that the artist will stop working, right? Which means that the artist will not gain any profit from their jobs, which leads to no incentive coming from the artist. That will be explained on my second layer of argument. But second layer of argument, let's analyze the entertainer's perspective. When they receive no profit from consumers or from the entertainment industry, it will less likely for them to change their behavior anyway. Why we say so? Because the moment when there is no profit, the moment when there is no income coming from their job field, which is in entertainment industry, they do not want to listen to their consumers, ladies and gentlemen. When people still consume their works, they contribute to the income of this artist. It will create a sense of awareness. It will create a sense of responsibility from the artist, because the artist will feel entitled to the consumer's contribution to their income, right? The artist must change their behavior in order to gain income. So it means that there will be incentive coming from the artist to change their behavior, to rebuild their reputation, and so far and so forth. But second of all, we say that these artists are controlled by their agency, right? That by their managers, by their label, and so far and so forth. This agency, these managers can force the artists to change their behavior, because the company will listen to the demands from society. Because the moment when they stop listening the demands from society is the moment where there will be no profit coming from for this agency, because the main source of this agency is the public itself, is the society itself, which is why it is very important for this company, for this manager to force their artists in order they change their behavior, and so far and so forth. That is why we are proud to oppose.
Thank you, DLO. To open the closing half of the debate, I would like to call upon member of Dafir here.
Hi, checking if I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Just put the POIs on the chat, and I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So the value of this debate is that you really want to know whether a form of artwork is devoid of moral values and personal influences of its creator. As delivered by the opening opposition, we don't think that a product of art, a film, a movie, or a song or an artwork could be separated from the personal influences and the values of its creator. We think that artwork is a highly personal result of a personality. We think that works cannot be separated from the moral of its producers, because it is the public that would publicly consume its works, and the public, as you know, it tends to judge not only the work but also who created it in order to understand what really motivates the idea of this artwork. We think that a problematic creator would create a really problematic artwork, and this is why the platform should be removing it. But we also want to rebut the idea coming from the opening opposition that the platforms, the Netflix and Spotify, should be paying attention to the victims of the criminal artists. We don't think that platforms has anything to do with the victims. I think it is a matter for the court of law to protect the victims, to provide restitution and rehabilitations, and ensure that the criminal artist does not go nowhere of the victims using the mechanism of restraining order. It is the responsibility of the state to protect the victims, and the business platforms has no business of interfering with the victims, since their responsibility deals with their relationship with the artist. Put it in the chat. And also, on that thing, also the third thing came from the opening opposition is that they are afraid that media will blow up the scandalous of the criminal artists. Well, we think, yes, you can POI via chat, that's what I'm preferring. But we think that is indeed the role of the media. It is, we think that condemning the role of media in blowing up scandalous and criminal artists means that you are condemning those who tell the truth and obstruct the public right to know and evaluate the decisions of business platforms they use daily. So we do not see the point about condemning the media's role in this is relevant coming from the opposition. From the closing government bench, we think that the criminal acts that we means now is only proved in front of a court of law. We do not want to accept abstract allegations reported by the press and the gossip tabloids. We think that this is a very serious allegations that have been convicted by a court of law, can only be reason for removal of works in Spotify or Netflix. And the opposition also said what we should think of the actors, we should think of the film workers. Well, we in the closing government says that works where problematic actors and singers that are featured prominently as a main actors will be removed, not the ones where they are only cameos or supporting roles. So for example, if you it is the right decision to remove R. Kelly albums, since R. Kelly has been charged, tried, and convicted at the federal court in Chicago. But we don't think it is the right decision to remove Kevin Spacey from House of Cards or canning the whole series of House of Cards in entirety, because Spacey has been charged, tried, but not convicted of the crime. We believe in the decision of the court of law as a binding decision with legal effect, while allegation has no binding legal effect and are often baseless. Ladies and gentlemen, we base our argument from the closing government on the business interests of the brands. We think that brands has sound interest to keep their profit and their relevance in the market. So we base on two arguments on that the removal of criminal artists is a sound business decision, and the removal will follow the market mechanism and could contribute into a more ethical entertainment industry in the long run. On the first point, we know that the audience of Netflix and Spotify are more likely to be aware of moral and criminal issues surrounding the artists they consume on a daily basis. We also know that the platforms retains their profit based on the trust of their users, the satisfaction and the ratings coming from those who pays for Netflix or Spotify. At the end of the day, the platforms as a company or a corporate brand has their responsibility, their corporate social and ethical responsibility to remove those criminal artists. We should not pay a blind eye towards the power of boycott and cancel, which is has been relevant in the current discourse in the entertainment industry. We have seen so many artists being canceled or being having their career jeopardized because of the points of the allegations or the convictions they made. We say the opposition says that there is no harm in boycotting them, but we say as brands there is a very tangible threat of harms towards the business. A platform that does not deal adequately with criminal artists in its roster would not be trusted by their users and would see their rating plummeted. So the platform will eventually has to choose why we should jeopardize the whole platform's survival to defend a problematic set of work made by criminal artists. So it is better for the platforms to follow what the general public wants and avoid what they reject, because this would be beneficial for the survival and the future of the business expansion, but also at the same time fulfills the corporate business and ethical responsibility. That the concrete result of this argument is that there will be no boycott or cancellation of the business platforms and also contribute to the better sustainability of the platforms. In this thing, we also think that Hollywood has a very lax, laissez-faire standard of ethics, stems from the ideas of artistic freedom and the liberal attitudes towards the issues that might be controversial in the society. Hollywood has a very influential power to influence and shape the hearts of minds of a society, yet they are held accountable by no one. Politicians are being accountable by their voters. Facebook and Twitter are being held accountable by its users. Because of the lax nature of Hollywood, no one really wants to oversight upon the industry, and they also strongly oppose the oversight by the government. We think that the artist removal is a textbook example of free market invisible hand combined with the modern theory of corporate social and ethical responsibility at work. The market decides that this product cannot be morally justified to be sold because its producer has been convicted by a court of law, and the society as a whole are expected to follow the law. So removal is a logical result. We think that this saw a long-term tangible benefit, so artists would avoid mistakes of criminal artists, since there is now a free market mechanism to hold them accountable. And this provides a concrete result where a more ethical entertainment industry, where R. Kelly situations could be avoided, or if it does happen, it could be adequately mitigated. On these explanations, which also would be explained further by my second speaker, we stand to propose. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to call upon member of op.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Let's notice on how the whole case coming from the government side of the house can only stand in this debate if they can prove to us that there is nothing such as justice system, right? Because simply because the whole opposition case, the whole opposition side of the house has already agreed on how we currently already have the status quo, which is the justice system that has already could give deterrent effect for the artists whenever they do immoral things, whenever they do criminal things, right? Simply if the opening of government want to say that they need to give deterrent effect to these artists who do immoral things and criminals, we say yes, of course they need to be punished, and they already punished by the court, right? So that's why I think the whole case coming from the whole government do not actually stand debate, right? Going to the closing government case on how they're actually talking about the entertainment industry. Judge, I think it's okay for us to left out the closing government here simply because the whole debate has already agreed on how what we're talking about is not about on how it will be beneficial or not to the entertainment industry, because simply what we're talking about here, which solution is the one that can cater the victim the most, and which solution can actually give best deterrent effect for the perpetrator to begin with, right? So therefore, I think the case from the closing government did not even fall in this motions, right? So what makes us different compared to our opening? First, so if the opening opposition wants to stand in the debate with the justification of how by actually removing these arts from platforms, it will harm other people that do not contribute to the immorality. The closing opposition will give you very very basic justification that very much needed compared to this, because first we're going to explain to you guys on how the art themselves that created by this problematic artist is not actually reflected by their creator, right? So that's why there's actually no clear urgencies on why we should take down the art that they created, right? So what I'm going to talk about here in my speech. First, I'm going to talk about on how this art is not actually a reflection of their artist, and second, I'm also going to talk about on how by actually taking down this art is only a form of fulfilling a popular demand inside of the victim demand that at the end of the day will give the victim less power to speak for themselves, right? So, but before that, I think I'm going to several responses going to the opening government. First, on how the opening government simply is overgeneralizing every victim on how they say that victim do not want money, victim want justice, victim want punishment for their perpetrators, right? We say that it's not actually immoral for everyone to overgeneralize everyone what they want as a victim, right? Simply because of course victim also need money. There are several victims that also need money. For example, it's like if you're harassed by someone, of course you need money to actually go to the psychiatrist to begin with, right? So we cannot generalize everyone. But moreover, even if it's true that victim actually want punishment, it's going to the current status quo again on how currently in our status quo we already have strong justice system. We already have court that will punish these artists, these harassers to the very begin with, right? So I think that these arguments do not fall on this debate, right? More rebuttals going to be integrated in my argument. So going to my first substantive on how the personal lives of artists doesn't reflect that by their artwork, right? These arguments will also directly clashes the closing government when they say that the art is reflected by the creator, right? So first, Judge, we need to acknowledge that if you're an artist, you will only show the good side of yourself. Of course, you're not going to portray your immorality to the public. Of course, you're not going to create an immoral art to the very begin with, right? Simply because it will not make people interested in your art to the begin with. Of course, and as an artist, as someone who work in entertainment industry, you want as much as people be to be to like your arts, right? The moment that you make an immoral things, it will not make people interested in your art to the very begin with, right? So it's not, so the moment that you create an art, it's not going to be reflected of your immorality, right? It will be reflected on only the good side of yourself. Take an example on the case of J.K. Rowling, right? On how she's giving a very offensive words in terms of transphobia, right? We can see right now there's nothing in Harry Potter that actually portraying transphobia, even though J.K. Rowling actually giving words of transphobia in her social media, right? It shows you that the arts that created by this immoral artist is not actually reflected by their by their immorality, right? It's also going to rebut the argument coming from the opening government when they said that this platform is actually influential for people. Yes, it's influential for people, but it's not going to influential in a negative way simply because negative contents will not even be produced to the very beginning, right? But even if it's true, it's going to be influential negatively because these artists will going to create a negative art to the very beginning, right? We believe that this case is most likely not going to happen simply because if they're creating a very immoral art to begin with, it will not get the izin siaran for the very begin with, right? So this argument tackles down the principles coming from the opposing government and also tackles down the harm that worked in this debate by the opening government, right? Okay, second point of argument on how I think I'm going to extend what the opening opposition said, and I'm also say it right. So first, on how the current status quo is already fulfilling the standard of punishment. Judge, we characterize the standard of punishment is the punishment that gives social punishment to the perpetrator, that give punishment, for example, is like jail and monetary punishment to the perpetrator, and also that can give victim the victim advocacy so that they can be move on from that problem, right? The moment this standard has already fulfilled by the current justice system, right, which is the court. The moment that we there is no explanation of exclusivity coming from the whole government case on how they want to say that this by actually taking down this, it will actually give advocacy to the victim to begin with. It will at the end of the day give monetary punishment for the perpetrator to begin with, right? Because simply the court has already done that, right? Because of that, I think there's no clear explanation why should, if even if the government case want to brought up on how at least the victim do not actually need to watch that what they do not want to watch on Netflix anymore. We say that the victim has already the power to do that, right? They can just hide the art from their perpetrators to the begin with, right? So I think until right now there is no clear exclusivity at all coming from the government side, right? Okay. Last point on how at the end of the day it will only fulfilling the demand, popular demand instead of the victim demand, right? Judge acknowledge that a lot of people in this case there are a lot of people that's not a victim are speaking in the behalf of the victim, right? In the moment that this happens, it will overshadow what the victim actually really want, right? Which is to actually have advocacy instead of just make this art be taken down, because at the end of the day it will not contribute anything for them at all, right? So I think with this the comparison would be in the opening in the opposition side of the house here, which is us, we're going to protect everyone. We're going to protect the victim. We're also going to protect the artists that do not contributing to this immorality. But the government side of the house will only fulfill certain cancel culture without actually giving contribution to the victim and harm to the another artist by, and also denying a lot of justice status quo.
All right, thank you. To close the oral gov bench, I would like to call. Yes, please notify me when the Azan is over. Yeah. You're audible.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Chamber. First of all, I want to talk about the money that lost by the entertainment platform because of the act of immorality or crime by these artists. As to how my first speaker explained to before that these entertainment platform are actually gaining money, gaining profit from from their consumer or their viewer or their subscribers, and we see that the trend that whenever one artist or someone that influential, in this case the artist, are actually doing something immoral or criminal, we believe that the society will eventually boycott this artist, including his artwork and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at that, on example that one of the famous caster in the world of esport, Toby One in Dota 2, for example, he conducts such an act of immorality that a lot of people are actually started to boycotting and voice out their voice to against Toby One, and we believe that this also affect to the company, or in this case this entertainment platform itself, because we believe that those entertainment platforms such as Spotify and Netflix are actually relying their income from their customer, and those boycott towards certain artists in their platform will affect their rates, their rating, for example. And we believe that this kind of thing is something that we have to prevent. Therefore, we believe that our stance here as a hosting government through the point of view of entertainment platform is something that actually most important in this debate. Why so? Because first, we believe that the major actor in these motions is entertainment platform. Whether we remove or not these works, it will affect our business in general as a whole. Because we believe that the moment when we are actually remove something from our platform, there will be such a trade-off that we will get. What is the trade-off? Under CG, we will the trade-off that we will not get any more benefit from those works that we remove, but the trade-off is that the other works will not be affected by the bad review or rating by the society that actually angry and create such a resistance toward a certain artist because of the immoral actions. And then here I would like to summary this. I would like to summary this debate as a general. The burden that have to be answered by each team on each bench is that why. Firstly, we have to answer why the entertainment platform have the responsibility or have something to do with the act of the personal life of the artist itself. We believe that in this case, uh, other benches has not actually touching this point. Why? Because let's see how CO conducting their proposal. We believe that under CO, they believe they're simply saying that they will stick with the status quo and believe that justice system is enough. And we don't get any exclusive explanations toward what would like to happen to the entertainment platforms. However, we believe that the entertainment platform is something that we would like to focus in this debate. The CO under their claim that justice system is enough and there's something talking about the perpetrator and the victims. However, we see that this explanation already coming from the opposing government, which we believe the CO is actually the team that actually less contributive in this debate. Let's see how OO conducting the. But before that, several rebuttals for CO itself. That CO asking about the clear urgency from the government of the house. We believe that my member had explained to you that the urgency is that this entertainment platform interest is for business, and then therefore this act of immorality or criminal will affect our business. Therefore, we don't want it to happen, and that's the clear urgency coming from CG. And then let's take a look at the OO. OO comes with the idea that by removing these works of art of this artist will affect other actor in the productions. We say yes, it will affect other people of the production, but how significant it will affect. We believe that during the process of during the process of production itself, those people are actually already get their profit itself, and we believe that the only one that actually affected by this policy is that those who actually receiving extra royalty from the display of these works in such entertainment platform, and we believe that those people are that actually have minor contributions such as the cameraman, for example, or another stakeholder will not affect as significant as these artists that actually directly affected by this policy. And then they believe that therefore we see that OO is not much different with CO. We believe that their contribution in this debate is not actually that outstanding, and we cannot credit them really high. And then let's see how OG conducting their case. We believe that the OG comes with the idea that actually we have to do this because first immoral action is not something not good, and then they have to do this in order to for the interest of the victim itself, and then they want to create such a deterrent. But CG says that it is not the responsibility of this entertainment platform, it is not the concern of entertainment platforms to concern about the victim or the perpetrator. We believe that those things is the responsibility and the rights of court of justice in order to process those kind of things. Therefore, we see that any other benches in this debate actually less contributive to the motion itself. Let's see how CG analyze or exercise these motions. Firstly, we coming to you by explaining what is the real interest of the entertainment platform. We coming to you offering that these entertainment platform are actually their main interest is for business and for money, and or for instance it is for a pragmatic benefit. We believe that once something affecting our benefit or affecting our business, we believe that we have to cut off those things. In this case, the thing that we believe will affect our business in a bad way is this immoral artist, how they affect us our business by making people that actually boycotting them giving such a bad review towards our product, for example. And then we believe that those kind of things something that really important and necessary in this debate. Secondly, my member had explained to you that through the applications of this policy, it will create such a new, it will give such a new future of the entertainment industry to be more ethical and to be more ethical for the artists. And we believe that this kind of betterment for the future is something that really contributive coming from the Korean government. Because of those two things, first, we are the only team that actually touching the spirit of promotion in which the exercise of the entertainment platform. Second, we give you the how this motion also affect the future of the entertainment industry. Therefore, we proud to propose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gaffi, for that speech. To close the up bench and the overall debate, opposition with him.
Am I clear enough?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Wait. Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. In my speech, it will be consist of two big parts. The first part is the rebuttal, which will integrate it by rebuilding my opening case. And the second of all is what is actually happening on this debate and the conclusion of the debate. First, going to the first section, which is upon how actually the rebuttals that I would like to present to the government side. So first of all, they brought upon how opening government tell us about how actually is being influential. This entertainment platform is exclusive enough to become the punishment, the real punishment for this, and is actually inclined with the victims' motive or the needs that need to be fulfilled. But notice, this influentials is not actually exclusive, and it could actually be also is actually mutually exclusive upon our side without the intervention of entertainment platform. We have cancel culture. We have the judge from those netizens who actually know that they shouldn't actually exist again. Their work shouldn't be supported. We should boycott them. There's a lot of narration, for example, in Twitter or in news, in media. There's already a big detriment, a big reputation, a big punishment for the artist's reputation who actually did criminal needs. We think whether or not entertainment platform tries to actually take in parts to become the punishment, it is at the end is not going to be effective or is actually to be exclusive and actually cover all other examples or alternative that already out there. There is already there to punish this, not only about those netizens, but also upon the court system. There is why court system itself is actually the punishment that we should actually focus not upon onto this entertainment platform, because it is injustice and also actually inclined with what victims want, what punishment, and all those allegations is actually being checked thoroughly, and therefore those punishments is already there, and it is already enough in the current status quo. And therefore, upon the influential and the exclusivity is actually should not be credited, because at the end of the day, they are unlikely to actually prove to us how it is the most powerful, how it's going to create the best effect, just because only they brought us upon how it could glorifying the first top one social artist and to do so. But at the end, it actually will glorify on how bad this criminal is. And even if they wanted to glorify how bad this criminal is, it is going to tarnish the reputation of the application itself, which we don't want that to happen. And right now, under our opposition side, we have much more actors and stakeholders that could be protected, while under their side, there will be more harm and more effect that actually create worse situation that for the entertainment itself, for the production itself, and for the victim itself. Okay, upon that rebuttals, going to the second rebuttals, also upon how actually if we are not going to remove this, it shows us upon that is we are supporting the criminal. Notice when the entertainment platform is staying neutral, is staying open and free for people who wanted to create anything, there will be still there will be they're actually showing you that you are not siding with anyone. You are not actually boycotting those criminals. You are not actually
On that
supporting
point,
those criminals because you stay neutral. No, because you stay open to the point that actually Katami also brought to you how actually it is not going to affect the economy itself, or how this money is going to loss upon the boycott itself. This touch upon how actually boycott is only could able to do when you are trying to become sided to one certain part. Okay, for example, also upon the cases that government that closing government brought upon, yeah, we will just only remove the main character of a certain movie that this criminal made the cameo. We should notice their mechanism, their problem, their effectivity of this solution is not there. At the end, it's going to jeopardize the platform. How? It is going to jeopardize. Okay, when people notice a certain, for example, Netflix is going to boycott certain film series, people will think, okay, it is going to side it to this certain movie. And then what about the others cameo? Netflix will say, yeah, it's okay. It's not the main character. Why should I decrease? And at the end, people will start thinking, is it just only to cater popular demand, or you really wanted to protect the victim? At the end, those boycott will actually hamper the applications, the app itself. But then when people are experiencing the entertainment, those stuff, and actually just watching it, and they could actually choose not to boycott them without actually thinking about this entertainment, who is actually just reserved as a platform to have everyone having fun. At the end, the choices is going to come back with us, and at the end, to begin with, those entertainment platform won't actually have that much problem to solve, because yeah, we just provide you, and then you could choose to boycott or not, you could choose to support or not. It is all your choice, and at the end, the entertainment itself won't be feel and won't be kayak selalu terikat to actually cater to those stuff that which actually they should focus upon the perkembangan of the app itself, or for example focusing on new artists. Like they will be really burdened by those catering demand that actually won't have help the economy or the benefits at the entertainment itself. That's why all government cases is actually problematic, because it is a lack of characterization, and how actually is going to influence and letting people to actually boycott those certain criminal. It is not clear. And also going to my classes, the main classes that is actually happening in this debate is upon how or which place is is providing you the best deterrent effect, and how actually it is going to evict the criminal not to do so again. Okay, closing government challenged us and told judges that actually CG is not CO is not bringing everything, but we already brought to you actually what is actually inclined with the victims, what is actually going to be better, and how it actually is going to reflect how this karya, how this result is not going to evict those artists itself. And therefore that's why it is not actually exclusive enough for them to become an object of deterrent towards this criminal. And also the opposition side also proved to you how actually it is, there's lots more alternative to prove to you so. And also upon the second, that's why this clashes is already won by the opposition bench. Also upon the second clashes, the last one is actually how there will be less likely actors or harms of bad and harms that is going to the entertainment industry, where entertainment industry won't be biased, it won't be easily targeted, and also it will have lesser burden to actually to do so. And also how actually production is not going to be effective much, because at the end of the day, the one that we focus on is the criminal, not the production of the movie itself. And therefore, how actually victims under opposition side is going to be fulfill what they need at the end of the day. Thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you, Opposition Whip, and thank you for all of the debater for a very wonderful debate. So for all the debater, please move to the main session and leave this breakout room, because this breakout room will be used by the adjudicators to